spray next time. We're gonna do the clearing spray instead of the smoke. Because I just made it. I did my simmer pot, and I made my dad, instead of using sage and things like that, I used you know how rose water, floral water. So that's how I do it. That's how I do all my simmer pots. Simmer pots for the house and all that stuff. I'm bringing in what we want to bring into the house, and I use the leftover liquid, and I use alcohol. Mix it all together to preserve it.
So, we're ready to get started?
Yeah, ladies.
All right.
So, mom guilt. We all have it.
Yeah.
Today I had mom guilt. We can start there. I had mom guilt today. Well, mostly, okay, I guess you could call this mom guilt, but it was more of the guilt of not really feeling guilty. It was, I needed to get away. I needed to get away. I knew the baby was going to cry. I felt guilty that I wasn't feeling guilty, that I was like, she's going to be somebody else's problem right now. It's not a problem though. It was more so of she'll get over it. She'll be fine, because she only starts to cry or anything when she sees me and somebody else is holding her. So I'm like, if I get out of here quick,
then she won't have that.
And then if she does cry, you know, y'all got all the things you need. There's some milk there. It's your problem essentially. That's your problem.
Yeah.
And then I felt guilty for feeling that way, and then I had to slap myself and say, no, don't feel guilty. You're human too, but it's still in there. It's lingering. It's still lingering.
I think it's a thing that's almost innate. Like, it's almost like one of those things that if you carry a child in your body, and even anyone who raises a child, you know, there's some sort of connection, you know, when you're not able to do all the things and be all the things, and even, you know, even the things that as moms that we think are huge things that our kids don't even think about and care less about, and then we are feeling guilty about it years later.
Yeah, that happened to me the other day. Actually, I had a whole ugly crying session, and my baby was in my arms. This wasn't the other day, it was like 2 months ago, but I was doing a new meditation, and I just wanted to release guilt, and then the old thought came into my head. And it was how I spoke to my oldest. I can't remember exactly what I said, but it wasn't nice. Right. And then I remember my thought process, like I was just so over it. Yeah. And I felt guilty because I felt like I was putting that energy on her, and she didn't even know. She was just being a kid, and I'm just like, I'm so angry right now. And I just started bawling, and I'm nursing my baby, and she's looking up at me like, what's going on? And I'm just like, Mommy's fine. And tears are just coming down my eyes and they're coming down my neck. And I was like, Mommy's just releasing. I was freaking this baby out.
Did she stop nursing?
Yeah, she couldn't even nurse anymore.
Really?
She was just like, she got like sat looking at me, and I'm like, Mommy's okay. And I'm wiping her away. I was like, see? She's just like, and she's going down. She's like, all right, I'll take the boob, but something's going on here. And the look in her face, it was just like of concern. And I'm like, I'm freaking my baby out. But I still felt so much better.
Like after.
I felt so much better. Like, and I mean, my chest was wet. My baby had some drips on her. Yeah. And I just felt good. And then I forgave myself. And I'm like, that baby didn't know. Thank goodness she didn't turn around and see the look in your face.
Right.
But it felt good to let it go and realize that I'm human and I have moments. And I think part of it too reminded me of my mom and the looks that she gave me. So, and I think that's what hurt me more. Is because when she gave me that kind of look, like it felt like hate.
Right.
And I was just like, oh my God, I gave that look to my daughter. But I also was able to distinguish that it wasn't a hate look.
Right.
It was, I was so fed up. I was just so over it. I was pregnant too at that time.
Right.
So, and it helped me forgive myself and come from a more of a place of compassion.
Giving yourself some grace type of thing.
Because it's like, I'm human. Yeah. I'm allowed to have those feelings. Thank goodness she didn't look at me, because she probably would have felt what I felt. Right. And I think that's what I feared. And I think that's where a lot of the guilt comes from, is the fear.
Yeah.
Of not being enough.
Yeah, that part. Or even though, like, you've done all the things that they want us to do all day long, when they go to sleep, you're like, but did I teach them enough? Yeah. Did I hug them enough?
Yep.
What about that time that I yelled at them? Will they ever think about that as they're going to sleep?
Yes. And it's like that. Lately, I've been immediately catching myself. Like, if I know I did something that it comes from a place of annoyance or just overstimulation or whatever it is, and if I could catch my tone or how I'm speaking to my children, I immediately apologize. I'm like, you didn't deserve that. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. Mommy's having a moment, and it's not your fault. Please remember that. And then I'm like, okay, look, Mommy's having a mood, so can we just...
That's huge. That's huge, because you're acknowledging that, and your children see that, you know, that you are saying, mommy made a mistake, and it has nothing to do with you, then something's going on with me. And I know that's a new thing. Well, maybe it's not new.
It's new, I'll say, in the sense of we didn't always get it from our mothers.
Right, exactly.
It's new for our community.
Right.
Because our ancestors didn't have the opportunity to be like, all right, little Johnny, how you feeling? Because it's like, little Johnny, if you be too loud, somebody gonna come take you.
Yep.
You're gonna get sold to them down the street, and I ain't gonna see you again.
Yep. CPS coming to the door. If they see that you home alone, I gotta go to work.
Right.
You know?
So it went from like slave times of like, is death life or death? You got to listen to me to
Domestic
like
violence was still in our parents, whereas they weren't going through the slavery time, but it was more so of, I have to go to work. I need you to be quiet because you're gonna have to be home alone for a little while. Like I know, growing up, my sister and I, we had secret codes for the phone, secret codes for the door. If she couldn't find a babysitter and she had to go to work, luckily she worked down the block, a couple of blocks during that time. But she'd be like, no, listen, you gotta be real quiet because you don't want the cops knowing you're here and somebody come take you. She goes, you want somebody to take from mommy? No, we don't want nobody to take us. She was like, all right, I'll bring you on McDonald's, okay? And we're like, okay, mom. Taking pictures with her makeup on. We kept ourselves busy.
and I don't know how your mama was, but my mom was
careful. She right here.
My mom used to be like, listen, I don't care what you do all day long. Why? Not that she don't care.
I know what you mean.
But she was like, I don't care if you wait till 5 minutes before I get home. When I get home, that house better be clean.
Yeah. Oh, that was a big one.
And I didn't care. Listen, because I remember being that age. You know what? You probably hang out with your friends. You go down the street. You're not supposed to. Your friends come over. All those things. I knew about that.
Yeah.
She sure
but
did.
The thing is,
who moved my picture frame?
This mom was not with it. I don't think she remembered being a kid. She was like, you got somebody in my house? I'm like, oh, nope. We forgot everything though. Take out the meat of the freezer. We forgot. All the time. And we 2 months, mommy, I'm so sorry.
And now I get it. For dinner. And there's nothing prepared. You be like, oh.
Mom, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mom, if you're watching.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for the Instant Pot, baby. When I tell you.
That Instant Pot saves lives.
Me and the Instant Pot don't get along too good.
No.
I think I've had my Instant Pot like 3 years. I think I've used it 3 times. So I'm averaging like once per year.
That's my sister.
Yeah.
She threw it away. She's like, I'm not doing this. I'm like, girl, I could have taught you. This is a lifesaver.
Yeah.
She works a lot too, so I'm like, you could use this, girl. That thing is amazing. I use it for everything. Dinner.
Wow.
Makes me feel less guilty.
Yeah.
Makes me feel less guilty. If I'm like, oh, I didn't prepare dinner, I didn't plan it.
Right. You got some chicken thighs in the freezer?
Yep, some rice. You can cook it all in one pot.
Frozen.
Spaghetti.
Wow.
The one we talked about?
That's really good. Is that the one you make the vodka thing? That's really good. That's
all
really,
in one
really
pot. That's why I really like it, because I am busy. If I could minimize my cooking down to one pot.
Yeah.
Because like the kids are gonna be calling me, Mom, he's touching me, he touched my stuff. Mom, come sit next to me, watch me play this video game.
Or I gotta tie the baby to me.
She's a cook already.
Or just be like, you know what? Yeah, right. She's learning. Or it's just like, we're gonna order takeout, and then I feel guilty for not being that mom, for not cooking the meal. And then what's for dinner? And I'm like, I forgot I was doing this and I was doing that. And he's working hard all day. And then I feel bad when he doesn't get a nice warm meal too, because he's like, when we met before the kids, I'm cooking, having a good time. Oh, pay my bills, honey. And now you give me these kids, I gotta take care of them too. Oh, they have things that they have to do. They have sports, they have class, they have this and this and that. And then I homeschool all the things. And then you feel so guilty because just like, you feel like you're supposed to be superwoman. And then
be doing it all.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? What is one of the things that, but for both of you, like what is one of the things that you do so that you don't carry that guilt?
Breathing. First I breathe. But what saved me officially was yoga. Honestly, it was yoga.
Okay.
I was in one of my psychic groups, my witchy psychic groups on Facebook, and somebody just randomly asked, like, how do I get started in yoga? How do I get started in yoga? And I wanted to know too, because I was like, I needed something. At that time, I was just coping with drinking. I was coping with smoking, and I just knew something had to change. It was just out of line. So I was like, yeah, let me check it out too. So somebody wrote, oh, well, this school is on, they're giving scholarships to women of color who want to get into the wellness arena. So, and it was the last day. All I remember is it being the last day, and I said, I'm gonna sign up. And the very next day, I got an email saying I was awarded. So I had no intention of becoming a teacher or anything like that. And this went into the whole philosophy of what yoga really was. It was more than just moving the body. Right. It was the breath. It was movement, but that was only one part of it. Mm-hmm. You learn that there are 8 limbs to yoga, you know? Okay. We won't dive deep into there. But it was helping me. Yeah. It was helping me feel better. It was helping me create a space where I don't have to put everything on my shoulders. Mm-hmm. I don't. And it also helped me explain to my husband that I'm not going to be able to do this all day, every day. He was accepting of it, and I think he always was, but I was hard on myself and kind of putting that on him, projecting that onto him as well. So me feeling guilty, I'm just like, you're making me feel guilty, and that's not at all how that was playing out. So I even tell everybody now, like, yoga saved me. Wow. And as I got into yoga, into a practice, a steady practice, that's when I said I needed to help other moms. Because I started to feel better about myself, started creating more compassion for myself in space. And then I said, you need to feel this too. Because I know I'm not alone. Mm-hmm. I'm not alone. I felt alone. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I still do. Yeah. But I know I'm not. Right. You know, it's that's
the human part of us, though. I think that thing about feeling alone in that time. But and what about you? Like, what do you do when you feel like that guilt is trying to consume you? Like, have you found a way to try to say, no, you can't consume me? Like, have you found a way to do that yet?
To release that guilt of doing it all.
Honestly, it's planning my day out.
Okay.
Routine.
Yeah, because then it's like, I can plan out times to be with my kids, or I can be able to look and see all the things that I did do. So it's like, all right, like now I will take a few minutes late with my son at night. Like every night he'll ask me to late with him. And sometimes I used to be like,
yeah.
But now I'm just like, all right, he's only gonna be this little for a little bit. He's only gonna want me to late with him for a little bit. Yeah. So I'll just go give him his time. Or like my daughter wants to spend some time together, which it's like it's not often, but like things that she wants to do.
But she's older now.
Stuff that she wants to do is like she'll be like, let's hang out. And like we did our toes together the other day. Mm-hmm. Like we had a morning where it was just me and her, and I went and got us some Dunkin' Donuts, and we did our toes. And then she was done way before I was, and she left me, went upstairs. And then when her ride came, she was like, all right, see you later.
But that was her time.
Yeah,
and she enjoyed it.
Enjoy those little moments. Take those moments.
Yeah. So I just try to plan my days out my days and my weeks out so I can be like, all right, well maybe I might not spend time with them today like I want to, but I know on this day I have like this block of time where
it can be dedicated to that.
And be like, all right, tomorrow it's gonna be me and you, he gone, we can go do some girl stuff or whatever. Or my son, he'll be like, all right, she's gone, he gone, it's just me and you. He'd be like, it's a mommy and Sunday?
Oh, I can see that working, because I remember after this baby kind of threw it, I'm just like, everybody just fend me out. But in the beginning, I remember having to schedule my morning schedule. I remember being happier. So that does make a lot of sense, because I felt like all the kids were happier too. Because I'm like, okay, I got this done in this portion of the day uninterrupted. Right. So now I can dedicate. And then being the homeschool mom too, that was a lot of pressure on me too, especially in the beginning, because it was more of a mind game. I'm like, oh my God, am I doing anything right? Is she excelling? Is she good? And then me like listening to what everybody else is saying, like, oh, she's so smart. I'm like, okay, something's working. Right. And then I had to slow down, come back, and just like routine. When I wrote it out, I felt like, okay, life is easier.
Some structure.
Yes, structure is needed. And I feel like I have a brain that goes everywhere. Everywhere, every thought, everything you could possibly think is just all in my brain. It just dumps there. So I'm going to have to take your advice on that and just dump everything out like you told me at night, and to just kind of get out.
Because when you can just, sometimes I call it brain vomit too, like a brain dump or brain vomit, just get it all. I don't even got to make sense. Sometimes just get the word out, because you will know what it means when you see it. But then you can be able to like look at all this and be okay.
That's a form of meditation as well. It is.
Because then it's like, okay, realistically, I wrote down this one thing, but I don't really need to do that for another 2 weeks. But it's just running in my brain. So if I can be able to look at it, okay, I can put that a little farther down the list, and here's this thing that's a little bit more important. Maybe I only got a day before the kids go back to school or whatever. Yeah. So we can schedule that one-on-one time versus me trying to do this one thing right now where I really could have waited 2 weeks, but now, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
I got you.
So then you're feeling guilty, like, man, I could have spent time with them, or I could have did this, but it's like, boom. And then also,
I did get this done though.
Yeah, and also, I feel like that gives the kids some, I don't know the word for it, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can be like, hey, I'm going to work for 20 minutes. Give me 20 minutes to finish getting my emails done. And then we'll go, not just like a, no, not right now, not right now. Not
They
right
know,
now.
okay,
We'll
mommy's
see.
not ignoring me. She's saying, they have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
What about you? How do you tackle the guilt?
Yeah.
I am still working on it, to be honest with you. Now I get to have conversations, you know, with my daughter. She's older now. And so I get to talk to her about some of the things, because I more of my mom guilt came, you know, when she was younger.
Yeah.
You know, being, you know, it was just me and her, you know, divorced. And so I kind of felt like I had to be both parents, which is really, really hard, you know. Especially for me, it was hard because raising a daughter, I felt like I had to be a lot more stricter on her, you know, just to keep her safe. And so I didn't really have the luxury in my head to be as soft or as nurturing, because I want to keep her safe all the time. So I felt like I had to always be very structured in everything. And so, so that was a big thing. And then I worked a lot. So she was really active in a lot of stuff at school. She cheered, she was in track, she did tennis.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she was in all these clubs. She worked.
Now to be fair, the reason some of this didn't happen to like the end of high school, and that's because I wanted to be in the yearbook as many times as possible.
However it worked out, it worked out. Yeah. But there were some things that I didn't get to go to all of her games.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to, you know, all of the events. And so I remember, like, one day I was doing something, and I remember she was talking about going to, like, Sincere's, like, he was in T-ball or something. And I don't know what happened to me that day. I just had this moment where I just had this guilt just came over me about all the things that I didn't get to do. And I remembered there were people that I worked with during that time, and they would always like leave early for their kids' stuff. And I was like, why didn't I leave early? And I was like, Bettina, you couldn't. I mean, I could have. That's the thing. I could have, but from a financial standpoint,
I get you.
I couldn't. And I think that was the thing. So
it was always frowned upon to be a mother in the workforce, even though it was also praised to do it all.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where, you know, then I think for me, and that's, you know, kind of one of the reasons that I do what I do today with the emotional wellness. It was like everything was just packed in. You just did it. You kept moving forward. You didn't really think about it too much, because if you did, then you'd have this down spiral of all these things that started to happen.
Yeah.
And so it was safer in theory to just push through and not really deal with it on a daily basis. But then one day it comes out, you know, and then I remember again, she was, Sincere had like a little T-ball game. And I was like, man, she's such a good mom. She's going to all the games, and she has Kindle and so many different things, and she's doing all these things. And I think something, like I said, I had a moment where I was like, man, I didn't get to do all those things with her and be there at everything. And so I was like, man, I want to try to be in as much stuff as I can with the kids now. And even now, it's still challenging because I still have to go to work every day. And, you know, but it's a little bit different, you know, that the freedom is a little bit more different than it was. Yeah. So I remember I called her, and I was like in tears, and she was like, what is wrong with you?
Because it affects you more than you think it affects them.
Yeah. And she gave the most mature thing. She said I couldn't talk because I was crying. I was trying to get it out on myself, and I was like, no, I'm sorry for when. And then she's quiet whenever I go through my thing. She's always quiet, and she never says anything. And I'm thinking, is she still here? Like, because I don't hear anything. And then she's like, Mom, yes. And she's like, I have a question for you. Yes. And she was like, so how did the bills get paid? I paid them. She said, yeah. She said, and we had a place to live, didn't we? Yeah. And she brought up all these valid points, basically saying, listen, you did what you had to do so that we can make it. And she said, and you know what? Guess what? She said, and I had some friends, and we were all in the same predicament. We all stuck together. She said, so even though you thought I was by myself, I really wasn't. Yeah. You know, she had two friends that were sisters, and then she said, and then some of the other parents, I guess, would sometimes like provide like snacks. I don't know, But I just remember when she told me that, and I was like,
that was the time of our lives right there. Listen,
yeah.
not being funny, but being able to be at the game. Your parents ain't
there. The freedom.
But and not that we was even doing them because again I was in sports or whatever.
Yeah.
But it just was.
It was a nice freedom.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
like the friends that she talking about were also my cousins too. So it's like,
yeah,
it's almost like we were a trio.
But
that
then as a
some
parent though,
too.
yeah, as a parent though, you just feel like you missed out on things, you know. And so I think that was the thing. So when you get to see your, you know, when you get to see your children, in this case my child, when I get to see her do things that I didn't get to do, it's a proud moment.
Yeah.
It's definitely a proud moment, and it's growth, and it's definitely, you know, because things are different. She's not doing things the way that I did, even with the whole gentle parenting, all of these things. So.
Yeah. I know that's the vibe I've gotten from you. I'm like, I'm telling Bree. I told you too. I just love the relationship, and even you give each other space to speak and be vulnerable. And I didn't see that. I don't feel like I had that to have a space where I can be vulnerable. And so it's like, oh my gosh, I see it right before my eyes. It's possible. And, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I love it. I just love it.
I will say it has not always been like this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the way that I used to communicate with her is I used to write her notes before I went to school.
That sounds like me. I used to write my mom
before text messaging became
because I don't want to see your face when you read it. Mm-hmm. And I don't want you to be able to react right then and there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just write this, be out.
But at least you had that.
But you've been a
space. You're able to talk to her.
She didn't write notes since she's been in like 2nd or 3rd grade. Oh. Dear Mom, don't forget to take out the trash.
That is adorable.
Does that not show like how organized I am?
That is, that started early.
This is like, I think she was like in 4th or 5th grade, and she went out of town with my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she wrote a list. She wrote me a to-do list. I came home from work, and there was this list on the table. Don't forget to take out the trash. There's like 3 or 4 things on the list.
So I remember right because it was sleeping
there.
Yeah,
my baby.
Now to be fair, because she did work so much, those were the things that I took care of.
Okay.
So it was like, all right. So
you're the only child?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that, I could see that. Yeah.
So it was just me and her. And then when I got
dynamic duo.
And then when I got older, it changed. It evolved. That's what we can say. Because then she was working different jobs. And so like, I'm older. I know how to cook now. And she'll tell you that I was picky. I won't deny that. I won't deny. I was picky about textures, about smells. I still am.
Yeah.
So I started cooking, and it would be to the point where like I would make her dinner. So by the time she came home, I'd make her dinner.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
That's sweet. Yeah, as soon as I learned to fry a pork chop, my mother was like, all you. Yeah. And hair was a thing too.
Yeah.
I got on punishment. Sorry, I'm going off. But I got on punishment, and she was like, I'm not getting your hair done. And I was like, well, can we go buy the hair and I go do it myself? And she was like, okay, let's see. I was in that bathroom for hours, almost a full day. And they were like, Sydnei, because they know I get angry.
Right.
So they're like, Sydnei, we got food. Like, just, you might as well slide it under the door and just like feed the beast. And I came out, she was like, oh, it came out nice. Guess who's the hairstylist for the family now? And I'm like, I guess it's me.
Yeah. If you learn that one trade, guess what?
Yep, it's on.
It's official.
And I will say, I think that our relationship has evolved more after me having my first child.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing.
Because it's like then, and what can I say?
Perspective?
The circumstance and like how everything was. But in a sense, like, it wasn't what you would think of like, oh, this happy family and we plan to have this baby. It was like, no, I was like 20, I had a baby, and I was like, oh,
we gotta figure this out.
Yeah.
Did it together.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was only out in these streets for 2 years on my own.
Yeah, but it helped come back full circle.
Yeah. So, because then, like, I moved back in with her and everything.
Oh, yeah. That's like a sitcom right there.
Yeah, it sure was, because couldn't lock her out the house. We probably.
After I'm in the garage sweating, Kendall, let me in, banging on the door, and then she would not open the door. And just so happened, that was the one day I left like the front door open. And I don't know why I left it unlocked. Well, I'm glad I did. And so I happened to walk out front. I said, well, let me just take a chance. Walked up front. And Kendall was sitting in her little door chair with her little legs crossed.
A little beanbag, too.
Yeah. And I walked in and I was sweating. My heart was racing because I left her in the house.
Okay.
And
so it was just you two.
Yeah, that's it. And then she says, Mom, I'm hungry. And yeah.
Heart attack trying to get to you.
Yeah, that was
It was a funny moment, though, at the end.
In the end, yes. But I was thinking during that time, my daughter's going to kill me. I left that baby in the house, and I was thinking, but it's not my fault.
So anytime you leave the house, you just have to have the key just to get
better. Yeah. Kim was that girl.
That reminds me of the time my daughter went out the garage naked with my dog, and I was sitting on the porch, and she was looking for me. And next thing I know, Mom, and I'm looking. She's coming out the garage. She's butt naked too, and my dog is with her. He's just like, where is she? And I'm just like, baby. We're walking their animals, and I'm like, all right, let's get back. He said, I thought you left me. There's two at the time.
Oh gosh.
Hendrix, the middle one.
Good, and those are the best stories.
Yeah.
And then when you tell them those stories, they think it's so funny.
Yeah, my daughter's new thing is to ask me about my past. Tell me the funny stories that happened when you were a kid, Mom. I'm like, oh, there's so many.
My daughter be like, tell me how you guys used to dress back in the day.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it was
I would never forget when she was, I promise you, I would never forget. She was like, Mom, was there color back in your day? And that's all,
that's for no
and
reason.
that's when I was like, I'm not even 30 yet.
You weren't even 30. That's what's up. Yeah.
But this is also the little girl who put on someone's wig. She put on my mom's wig. She said, look at me, y'all. I'm a grandma.
My girls used to do that to me, too. But granted, when they were babies, I would take my wigs and put it on them,
Right.
too. Curly one,
Right.
feisty wig.
Yeah.
I'm like, you want to be
Yeah,
Scary
yeah,
Spice? Scary Spice was a thing for a while in my house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lived in the 90s for a very long time, and I brought it to my children.
That makes sense.
Listen, because mine likes to dress like she's in the 90s.
It's coming back anyway. It came back.
Nothing
The crop
old
tops
is-
and all that.
Yeah.
The white lace pants instead of bell bottom.
Exactly.
Mhm.
They used
And
to
that was the
puff their
70s thing.
legs.
The bell bottom.
All that stuff comes back around. Definitely comes back around.
See, back to full circle of that mom killed.
Exactly.
You know? So practicing yoga was my life savior. That was
So yoga.
and quitting drinking, so I can create a space where I'm like, let's not use this as a crutch for me. It was a crutch because I always say this. I'm like, I don't feel like I was an alcoholic, but I do feel like I had problems every time I drank. Like I felt like I was this monster and I was just trying to choke it down with something. And smoking, oh my gosh, that was just like a very annoying vice of mine.
Yeah.
It's like I knew I needed to quit. I wanted to quit. And I say this to everybody. I felt like my grandmother came from the other side and told me to cut the shit.
Wow.
She came and she was like, cut it. Like, and I remember stopping midway because I used to feel so guilty. Going outside to go smoke a cigarette, then I have to come in, take off all my clothes, wash my face, rinse out my mouth, wash my hands, make sure because my baby was still little at the time.
Right.
Because as soon as I pushed her out, a couple weeks later, I was like, I'm back on my cigarettes, you know? So I used to feel so guilty. And then my big one, and I used to curse cigarettes. I'm like, cigarettes are horrible for you. So now my big one's starting to understand. And she's like, Mommy, can you stop going outside to smoke cigarettes? You could come and play with me. And I'm like, give me a second.
Oh, wow.
Like trying to ash it in the ashtray. And I just cut it. I just had to stop. And I just remember going, my husband used to hate it too, but he'll buy me like cartons and put them in the freezer.
Right.
And I just remember just breaking all my cigarettes, going in the freezer and just taking everything out. And I just threw it all away. That's
brave.
After I had that moment. And then I was just like, well, if I quit these, I got to quit drinking too.
Yeah.
Because if I drink, I'm going to smoke.
Right.
And then I just stopped and I just never looked back.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Going on 3 years now.
Congratulations.
I did have live. I did have 2 occasions of drinking within that 3-year span. But yeah, I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I need to leave that side, that part of my life.
Yeah.
Just let it go. That was a chapter, and I don't want that part of the future. I don't want it part of my future. I don't want it in my home, because I didn't grow up with it in my home, which is crazy. Well, the smoking part, yes.
Right.
But the drinking, it just had to go. It had to go. I was like, that's a part of the old me that is no longer part of my life now. And I just let it go. I have the occasional smoking toke, though. Not the smoking part. I do tinctures, but you know what I mean.
I love your little laugh.
Well, ladies, so as we kind of like wind down on this one a little bit, like, how do you feel about, I know we've talked about for you yoga, for you it's structure, for me it's something I'm working on, because I try to be intentional. I'm very fortunate though that I have a daughter who is very open-minded, so for me I get to have conversations, and that's how I deal with it.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I get to say, hey, I'm sorry. And for me, that's huge, because I know sometimes
you're taking accountability.
Exactly, because sometimes as parents, we want to know it all.
Yeah, we like high and mighty sometimes. Yeah. We have to be like, no,
exactly.
But they say awareness is the key to a transformed life,
and I believe that 1,000%. And being able to have those conversations with her, and when I do have those conversations, it's never like she's always just like, Okay.
I do notice that about Brie, that I can say anything and I don't feel judged.
There's never
at all
any
Like,
judgment.
I don't feel it.
No.
I can just say whatever I want, and I can think it's the craziest thing, and she's like,
Yeah.
she goes, I feel you.
Yeah. I call her Courtney.
Kardashian.
Yeah. Everything with her is
Just,
even,
I don't like the new Kourtney Kardashian. You the old one that I used to love.
the old one. Yeah.
Not this one that's just jealous of everything.
Oh, I
We
haven't
can go
seen.
into it.
I haven't seen.
can't.
This is like 2001, whatever.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Everything on
Tell her-
TikTok and on the Facebook, because I don't watch the show anymore. I can't
Oh
do it.
yeah, no.
But they'll show little clips of her, and I'm just like, she transforms into something I don't
Oh
know.
no, I
I
haven't
don't
seen
know
it since
anyway.
like the old, since what 2000.
When they first
graduated
began,
high
Since
school.
Chloe and Lamar were together.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
But I always say, no matter what's going on, you could be like, oh my God, Brie, you just won $10 million. She's like, oh my God, that's so great.
And she's like, I can pay everything.
Yeah, and you can still fit, like, no matter what it is. Now
Even keel.
every blue moon you'll see her kind of come out of her show, but for the most part, and so I know sometimes people are like, is she okay? I'm like, yeah, she's fine. That's just her personality.
She's calm.
Yeah.
She knows emotional
Intelligence.
Yes, there we go. Emotional
Mhm.
intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
I can agree.
Yeah.
I concur.
Yeah, because I am very intentional about what I say, but it's because like I know how I feel when people say certain things to me,
Yeah.
or if I'm trying to express myself. So it's like, let me just
And I'm learning that as well, to not just react to things. I want to respond. So I'm a very quick talker, and maybe that's a New York thing, but my thoughts are just, I'm like, just say everything. Just say everything right now.
Right.
You know? And now
just
I'm
get
just,
it out. Like pause.
then I can talk.
I think that's important. I feel that that's very important because sometimes what's here doesn't always need to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I've learned in relationships, is that once you say something, you can never take it back.
Exactly.
Even if you say, I'm sorry, and the person's like, because, I've had something said to me, and they're like, I'm sorry. Like, no, you're not. You said what you meant. You meant that.
You meant what
you're
you said,
sorry
yeah.
that you hurt my feelings or that I'm calling you out on it. Maybe that's what you're really sorry about.
Yeah.
But you're not sorry about what you said, because if so, you wouldn't have said it.
Exactly.
And so it's like being mindful of, okay, I'm thinking this one thing. Let me see how I can fix this and still express what I want to, but not be hateful about it or, that type of thing. And then some things are like not even worth saying, like, you know what?
Letting it go.
Letting it go, exactly. And picking, your battles, if you will. Like, is this really, do I need to have this conversation? No, I don't. So, why even start? But again, everybody's different, and we get to different places at different times. That all of those things, and just being at a place of, I think for all of us, which is why we're even here today, just being at peace with ourselves and being at a place where we are learning more about ourselves and dealing with things like the mom guilt and trying.
And that's going to be an ongoing thing. I think as long as you are a mother, like it's a thing, but it's an important thing to remember is to create space and compassion for yourself. Allow yourself to have that feeling.
Absolutely.
But you deserve a life too.
Yeah.
You deserve a life too. You want to give your children the best, but the only way you can give them the best is if you give yourself the same.
Exactly.
You can't pour from an empty cup, so you have to fill yours first.
Yeah.
Fill yours first so you can say, here you go, here's the overflow of everything.
Absolutely.
All the love that I'm giving myself, the overflow can be yours. Because it's going to be a continuous thing as long as you continue to love yourself and show yourself like, hey, you deserve it too.
Yeah.
We're goddesses.
Exactly. And our children will see that. And I think that's important for sure.
Absolutely.
But ladies, so we this is our first show, and we are so excited that everyone joined us today. We will be having another show coming up, so make sure you guys stay tuned, or that you log back in or jump back on YouTube or to the next podcast when we come back on. But we are so glad that you joined us.
Yeah. And comment and let us know how you feel, what you want to interject, and let us know, how do you battle your mom guilt?
Yeah.
What are the things that you would do to help not feel as sucky? And it may help another mom in the comments.
Absolutely. We can't wait to hear from you all. Thank you so much for being with us. And again, I am Tina George, emotional wellness coach.
I'm Brie Gonzalez, organizer and content creator.
And I am Sydney. I am a yoga teacher and an orgasmic birth doula.
And we are Sun Kissed Souls. And till next time. See you later.
Bye-bye.